I'm going to help you start this assignment. I'm assuming that for the first three multiple choice, you're going to either know the answer or go back to the notes to figure out the correct answer for each. So I'm going to show you how to do the next section, which is dot diagrams. And you need to determine, is it ionic or is it covalent? Okay. Now obviously when you see an element by itself, you don't need to worry about if it's ionic or covalent. So lithium, you need to remember how many valence electrons it has. When you look on the periodic table, it should be in the first column, and notice that if it's in the first column, it has one valence electron. So that is all you have to do for that. Now we need to figure out whether we have an ionic or a covalent compound. And please remember that ionic is nonmetal plus a metal, whereas covalent is just nonmetals. So I'm going to look for where I see just nonmetals. And if you look in the grouping here, PCl3 is an example where we just have nonmetals. So the question is, what do we put in the middle of our compound or molecule? Typically what I do is I pick the element that has the smallest number of valence electrons. So I know that phosphorus has 5 and chlorine has 7. So I'm going to put phosphorus in the middle of my compound because it's very good at sharing electrons. And then all around it, I'm going to put chlorine. And you need to remember that when you are talking about a covalent compound, it essentially is sharing electrons. So it is not like an ionic compound when it is not sharing electrons. Now if you want to rewrite it, I would rewrite it this way. So remember, one line equals 2 valence electrons, and the pairs of dots represent 2 non-bonding electrons. Okay, now let's talk about an example of an ionic compound. So we have magnesium and fluorine. Now if I look for magnesium, it has 2 valence electrons and fluorine has 7. Please remember that ionic compounds do not share electrons. They want to transfer. But the problem is with fluorine, it has only one missing area or valence electron. But I have 2 valence electrons for magnesium. So I have to create a second fluorine. And what's going to happen is, oops, sorry guys. I'm going to transfer 2 valence electrons to fluorine. And when I'm done, I'm going to have an ion. Please remember that the metal is a positive ion and the nonmetal is a negative ion. And the nonmetal always has 8 valence electrons around. Okay, so that is what I want to show for an ionic compound. Okay, so obviously when you see a plus sign, that probably means that it's not a covalent compound. When you don't see a plus sign, that probably means that it is a covalent compound.